and welcome to Leaderboard. My name is Karla Boza. I'm a coffee farmer at Finca San Antonio Amatepec, and I will also be your origin guide for this season and hopefully help you identify some coffees from El Salvador. So a little bit about myself. Finca San Antonio Amatepec is located within the Balsamo-Casactepec mountain range of El Salvador. This mountain range is located right in the middle of the country and it's extremely close to the capital. At the farm, not only am I a farmer, but I also assist with finding and building relationships with different roasters across the world. I am also a certified Q grader. I got my certification a couple of years ago, and this year I was fortunate enough to be selected as a national judge for Cup of Excellence. I am extremely honored to be able to taste some of my country's best coffees. That was certainly a very enriching and unique experience. And I am also a master's student. I am researching the different ways that coffee farmers in El Salvador can access specialty coffee markets. That way they can have more autonomy and access better market prices. So yeah, okay, so now back to leaderboard stuff. I'm your origin guide, and I am of the belief that coffee should be enjoyable and it should be fun and it shouldn't be complicated. So I will try to keep things as simple as possible and as relatable as possible. And also I'll try to simplify some terms that we use in coffee cupping, which can oftentimes be a little bit intimidating, but that shouldn't be the case, at least not with me, because that's not something that I enjoy. So yeah. Okay, so enough about myself, and now let's get into exciting leaderboard stuff. So I am of the belief that coffee should be interesting and exciting and accessible and fun, and it shouldn't be boring and intimidating or snobby at all. So I will try to keep things simple and approachable and also useful for your leaderboard journey. So let's get started. So let's see. The way that I like to think about when it comes to tasting coffee, I think that it is a long line of professionals that rely on trust. And what I mean by this is that, for example, everyone from the farmer up to the consumer can affect the way that we perceive coffee and that we experience it. So this includes also importers and baristas and roasters, for example. So anyone along this line can affect how we experience a cup of coffee. So for example, let's say that at origin, at the farm level, you can affect how a coffee tastes by the altitude where you grow it, by where your farm is located, and you can also specially manipulate it by the processing that you use. So not only are there already varieties that taste a specific way in El Salvador, but then you also have different varieties that can completely alter that. So then that is something that is extremely exciting to me. And I think that this is why it's a long line of trust. You need to trust that a farmer is doing their best job at growing coffee and maybe processing it. The mill is doing the same, the importer is doing the same, the exporter is doing the same, the roaster is doing the same, the barista, everyone, even the consumer. We're doing our best job to be able to detect these flavor notes, acidity, like all these things that play into how we perceive and experience coffee. And something that I want to emphasize specifically on is processing. So when it comes to processing, you can manipulate coffee and you can make literally anything happen. So then this is something that we experienced at Cup of Excellence, where, for example, producers might have submitted coffee from the same lot, but they might have changed the way that they process it. So we know that we have washed coffees, honey coffees, natural coffees, and now we have a lot of ferments also. So, you know, like there are many different profiles that will result from these manipulations to the coffee bean, depending on how you process it. And I think that that is extremely exciting when it comes to coffee. There are literally no limits, and that's something that is super cool to me. However, since flavor can be manipulated depending on these things. I like to focus mostly on acidity and on body, and specifically on body because I think that this is a great way to tell what type of coffee is maybe in our cup, and to be able to differentiate different origins in a more simple way. So I want to get into a little bit of acidity, on body, and then also touch a little bit on acidity, and then we can discuss maybe some flavor profiles and what it looks like when you're comparing them to foods that you might eat. So yeah, let's talk about those things. Okay, so now let's talk about body. Okay, so for those of you who are newer to coffee, body is basically the way that the coffee feels in your mouth, okay? So a good tip, when I was taking my Q course, our instructor told us to think of it like this. So when you drink the coffee and when you have it in your mouth, does it feel like water or does it feel like whole milk? So then that is sort of the spectrum of a low body, which would be water, and a high body, which would be the whole milk. So when it comes to coffee from El Salvador, it will usually be low to medium bodied. Like I mentioned before, coffee from El Salvador covers the whole the whole entire spectrum of coffee possibilities. We have a lot of different varieties, different altitudes, different growing conditions, so that all affects the coffee. But generally speaking, the coffee from El Salvador will have a low to medium body. So drink your coffee, and when you have it in your mouth, think, does it feel like tea, which would be a low body, or does it feel like skim milk, which will be medium body? So I think that that is a good trick to try to identify coffee from El Salvador, and hopefully that helps you. Sometimes our coffees can feel very delicate on the palate, like very tea-like, for example, and that can be attributed to a number of things, but it is definitely one of the characteristics for which our coffee is known. Okay, so now a tip and trick to identify acidity. So as the name says, acidity is how acidic a coffee feels. But this isn't a bad thing. I know that acidity can sound scary or intimidating, or for those of us who have tried commodity coffee, it can be scary sounding because sometimes they have a bad acidity to them. But no, when it comes to specialty coffee, acidity is usually a good thing. So when it comes to coffee from El Salvador, generally speaking, acidity is medium to high. So when you drink the coffee, think of that and try to compare it to the rest of the game. So try them all and you can sort of rank them, I guess, on how the acidity is perceived in your palate. And yeah, I think that that's a great way. And just keep in mind that acidity should always be pleasant and it shouldn't be something bad or scary in coffee. Okay, so now that we have gotten body and acidity out of the way, I wanted to take things a step further and complicate things maybe a little bit more and talk about things like our palate and our flavor profiles that are associated to coffee from El Salvador. So I just wanted to start off by saying that this is completely unique. What you like won't be the same as what I like, and vice versa. We haven't had the same living experiences. We didn't grow up eating the same foods. We don't like the same things. Personally, I absolutely hate papaya and celery. Some coffee, unfortunately, to me, tastes like papaya, and I don't like it. And it's maybe an excellent coffee, and it's nobody's fault. It's my perception of it. So now that we've talked about that, I wanted to talk about coffee processing because this is where you can start to bring out a lot of different attributes in the coffee and different flavor profiles. So in Cup of Excellence, we saw all of the processes, but what we saw the most were washed and natural. So I wanted to focus on those two. So, okay, so when it comes to washed coffees, to me, I love citrics and they taste very citrusy to me. So I take a sip of washed coffee and instantly I feel a lot of lime, of orange, and even sometimes some grapefruit pop up. And that is how I can identify it. It also smells very sweet and it tastes very sweet and it's very pleasant. On the other hand, and this is when I remind you that this is personal, a personal experience, personal palate situation, to me, a natural coffee sometimes will taste like a coffee mill. If you haven't been to a coffee mill and this sounds strange to you, short story, this is where coffee is processed, and a lot of the times this is where washed coffee is done. So then you remove the husk and the skin of the coffee cherry, and there is this massive pile of it where it's left to ferment, and you can smell it. And it smells like extremely ripe fruit, because that's what it is, right? So to me, a lot of natural coffees smell like that. So to you, maybe they will smell like, I don't know, a pile of tropical fruits left on your counter for a few days. And personally, and don't judge me, I love that smell. I think it's great. And when I taste the natural coffee, it instantly reminds me of that. So we also need to remind ourselves that there are a lot of memories associated with flavor, which I think is extremely cool. And to me, a lot of natural coffees taste extremely fruity. They will taste very tropical, and they will mostly taste like ripe fruit. So then think of those fruits, like I said, left in your counter for a few days, but that's not a bad thing. I personally love naturals above any other process, I think, and that's fine. And I wanted to briefly touch also on ferments. And fermentation is very cool right now. And we did see a few of them at Cup of Excellence, and they're extremely controversial for a reason. They're very new, and we still, I think, don't know how to define what a great ferment is like, and where the process starts and ends, and where the genuine attributes of the coffee start and end. So then there is this middle gray ground where fermented coffee and our perception of it comes. So for example, when I tasted these fermentations, I instantly thought of this grape soda that we have in El Salvador. Super weird, I don't know why, but to me that's what they tasted like. And that's also what they felt like. Some of them were even, and this may sound weird, a little bit effervescent on the palate. But that is just an example of the endless possibilities that we have when it comes to coffee, and that is what makes this beverage so incredible and so interesting, I guess. I don't think that you will ever have 2 cups of coffee that are the same, and to me that's very exciting, because I get bored really easily, and coffee is not boring at all. So then that's really cool. But yeah, that's just complicating things in coffee a little bit more. But when you taste coffee from El Salvador, you can identify the entire spectrum of fruits known to everyone. I guess we can all identify a little bit based on where we grew up and where we live and what we've tasted. And when it comes to sweetness, we'll also identify a lot of different things. For example, I've tasted a lot of honey, and I've tasted a lot of brown sugar and a lot of unprocessed brown sugar, which is very common to El Salvador. But yeah, that's just a few of the things that I can share with you, and I hope that it's helpful, and I hope that this part doesn't confuse you, because I know that I've been speaking for a while. But yeah, hopefully this part is for your coffee interest. Don't let this discourage you from keep trying coffees and keep trying to identify coffee from El Salvador. So when you're trying to identify coffee from El Salvador, just think about body and acidity. Remember, body low to medium, tea to skim milk, and acidity medium to high. It should always be pleasant and not intimidating, and it shouldn't offend your palate. You may find very delicate coffees from El Salvador, and then you may find some that are very, I guess, fruity and acidic, and that's fine, because that's also delicious and you might really enjoy them. So I hope you enjoy your coffee, and I hope that you found these videos useful, I guess. But yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that it will help guide you towards identifying the coffee from El Salvador. And just remember that while we may have the entire coffee spectrum available in El Salvador, try to focus on body and acidity. Remember, body should taste from anything from tea to skim milk, and acidity should be medium to high but pleasant. And yeah, this was a great experience. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions or concerns, or maybe you want to advocate for coffee that has flavor notes of papaya that you really like, you can reach me through email or through my Instagram account. My handle is K as in kilo, B as in boy, O as in, oh no, I don't know what else to say, Z as in zebra, and it's followed by 3 A's as in apple. So it's Kaboza, basically. And yeah, as a reminder, I'm from Finca San Antonio Amatepec, a specialty coffee farm in El Salvador, located right in the center of the country. And yeah, best of luck. I hope that this helps you. I hope that you're able to identify the coffee from my country. And if you enjoy it, I would really want to encourage you to taste even more coffee from my country. We have so many different mountain ranges, so many different varieties, so many farms and ways to produce coffee that you will see what I mean by that we have the entire possibilities of coffees, and I can assure you that you will not get bored. And best of luck. I really hope that this helped you, and I can't wait to see the results. And yeah, good luck, and thank you for listening to me for this whole time. I really appreciate it. Bye.